Hey guys, it's Cauliflower, and today I have a special topic video for you. This video was actually highly requested from some of you guys that watch my channel and have also gotten to know me and my daughter through my videos. And some of you have asked me personally and even through my Collie Chats video about this specific topic and how I deal with it. So I wanted to do this actually again as maybe another series. So I'm not going to include this as a Collie Chats because it's basically going from personal experience, and I just want to throw it out there into the forum and have you guys, share and comment about it alike. And if you can get some information out of these videos, if you can get some support out of these videos or anything like that, that is the ultimate goal here. As a disclaimer, I just want to say that I am not a doctor, I am not a psychologist, psychiatrist, or child developmentalist. I am simply a mother who has a 12-year-old daughter who was diagnosed with Aspergers at the age of 7, and how that affects our family, our daughter, and the like. The way I want to do this is I want to have some sort of foundation to go from instead of just blabbing and talking about my personal experience, which I will be doing and going back and forth with. But I'm going to be using this guide during the series, and it will be broken down into different topics out of the series. This is the Asperger Syndrome, the Oasis Guide, Advice, Inspiration, Insight, and Hope from Early Intervention to Adulthood. And week after week, or how often I do these videos, I'm going to be taking a specific chapter or a specific topic or a specific paragraph that I really would like to speak about or talk about and go from there. So hopefully you guys will get some information out of this, and I'm just going to get started. So as I mentioned before, my daughter was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome back in 2004, I want to say. I think she was about 6 or 7, so it might have been 2004, 2005. Previous to that, when she was in preschool, we were noticing, or she was having a very hard time socially. If you know anything about Asperger's, Asperger's is on the higher spectrum of autism, and the main problem with Asperger's is that the social skills are not there. So we noticed, well, I noticed after a while that my daughter wasn't very social. She was very much to herself and wanted to do nothing but play by herself, and she was content and happy with that. But as a new parent who just put their child in preschool, I had a very high concern that she wouldn't make friends and that she would be alienated, and I was absolutely right about that. So basically the reason why we even had her checked in the first place was because of her preschool experience. Her preschool experience for me and for her was a very difficult time, more so for me because she adapted. I really just couldn't understand how people could treat her as shitty. There's no other word to use it, as shitty as they did. So my daughter was put in Sunshine Preschool prior to, I think, her 4th birthday. She was about 3.5, 4 years old. And we put her in, and, she adapts to things really well. But the problem with her, as I mentioned before, is the social aspect of it. And because she wasn't really that willing to play with other kids or be taught how to be in group situations and things like that, she would struggle with certain things, and she would show certain things in her behavior. Unfortunately, I would get phone calls from her teachers telling me about certain things that she was doing that were deemed violent. First of all, in any type of Asperger's, or I'm sorry, in any type of autism, it's varied. There are some that can have violent tendencies. There are some that can express themselves in very different, maybe seemingly to the world, volatile, but that is not the case. For my daughter, her way of acting out was more of in frustration than anything else, from what I could finally see myself. What happened is my daughter was in a playtime area, and they were playing with blocks, and my daughter must have picked up one and tossed it across the room, but I don't think she meant to toss it at a certain person. But anyway, I was alerted about it, and I was told that, you know, it was deemed violent. So from that point on, it seemed like our world changed and went upside down, because we were then told that we needed to have her monitored and tested and home tested and all of these things, because she wasn't adapting to her environment in school. As a parent, this was a very difficult thing to do. I didn't want my daughter watched. I didn't want my daughter looked at as she was different. I wanted her to have an experience that any other child would when they go to preschool, to play, to laugh, to learn, and to possibly make friends out of the whole thing. Well, after about 1 or 2 months of this, because it was right off the bat, we did get all of the necessary help because we were awarded it. We were, I want to say that we were up for it. So we had somebody that would sit and monitor her during class, write down everything that she saw, everything that my daughter was doing, if she was having a good day, if she was having a bad day, and everything was written down in a journal for me to look at and for me to view and answer back in on a daily basis, sort of like a daily log type of a thing. Also, I had become at that point, which is really important, I became more of an advocate for her than anybody else. I didn't like the way she was being treated. I didn't like the things that were being said. So I would basically fight the battle. If, as I mentioned before about the violent thing that was mentioned to me, I went to battle for that right off the bat. We had taken her, or started to take her, to a child psychologist as well, which I wasn't in agreement for. I wasn't going for. I didn't think there was anything mentally wrong with Julia, but they said that it might have been a good idea to do that. We had taken her to the child developmentalist once at that point, and within 20 minutes he had mentioned that she might have Aspergers, which I didn't believe right off the bat. I'll be honest with you, I didn't believe it. My daughter at the time not only was not very social, but she had a lot of different things that she would do that were not very normal, or seemingly normal. I don't want to say that like saying, oh, she wasn't normal, but not seemingly normal. She would touch her fingers. She would do this a lot with her hands. She would look up quite a bit. She would always stare like up into the lights. She would do a thing on her feet where she would walk on her tiptoes. She was never very comfortable with her footing. She would walk, one of her feet would kind of slightly go to the side. She wouldn't walk normally, like her heel and toe wouldn't hit the floor. It would be more like a sideways type of a thing. If you saw her shoes back then, you could see like the divot where she would just walk sideways and not normal. And I was also given suggestions at the time from her main family. And when I say main family, I mean family that lived in this house, not her father and I, about her speech. She was 3 years old, and her speech to me was like a regular 3-year-old. I didn't see anything wrong with it. I thought it was fine. She had a slight lisp. She also had 2 teeth gone. I didn't see anything wrong with it. A family member threw some speech impediment brochures on my bed one day, and I ripped them up, and I tore them up, and I threw them right back at her. I think for me, and I know it's going to sound like I was being a defensive mother, but I think for me, there is something about a mother and a child that is undoubtedly something that no one else in the world can ever understand when it's your child and when there is something not right with them. For me, I never believed Julia had anything wrong with her. I thought that maybe somewhere along the line, I didn't do anything right. I'm the one who screwed it up. I didn't do. And there is something that you're told that is wrong with your child. You do everything you possibly can to look into all the factors of what is being said to you. As I said before, they told me she was violent. I was told, you know, antisocial. I was told that she, you know, could have so many different things. I didn't want to believe that because obviously you don't want your child to grow up with anything that could deter her from having a normal life. And you didn't want anything being stuck to her like a label or a stigma. Anyway, as far as going to the child developmentalist, he looked at her, he read all of the necessary documents that were coming from the preschool, that were coming from her normal doctor. He looked at her and within 20 minutes diagnosed her as an Asperger, as an Aspie, or as they affectionately call it. And for me, it was very hard to swallow because I had no idea what that meant. All I heard and knew was it was a higher spectrum of autism, and for me, that meant that she was developmentally not correct, which to me meant I did something wrong. So there went the blame. There went the inner struggle on that, which I'm not going to get into right now. That's a whole other video. But going back to what I said about having her monitored and having people come to the house and testing her, I had people coming to the house and testing her and telling me she was at genius level. She was bored. That's the reason why she's acting out. She shouldn't even be in preschool. She should be in kindergarten. I mean, it wasn't about her learning. Her learning was basically more than average. It basically was her behavior, which to me, as far as behavior is concerned, I think a parent's job is to set that groundwork, set that foundation, and work with your child if they're having behavioral problems as best as you can. Not saying that we can control everything. Obviously, when a child has something of this magnitude, yes, you need support, you need help, you need the support of obviously professionals, you need the support of your family, you need the support of everybody in the community that deals with your child. And that is what I'm going to get to. So for me, I think cumulatively, when it came down to it, it was all about I had to get involved, and I had to involve myself in every aspect of Julia's life, from school to doctors to the testing to the monitoring to getting so involved in this child's life that she was not going to be put in a corner somewhere and forgotten about. Unfortunately, during preschool, because of her behavior, because of the fact that she now had people that were helping her during the day and monitoring her, she was alienated. She was treated like she was a freak. She was talked about not only by children, because children you can understand, they're young, they don't understand. I'm talking about her peers that were supposed to be teaching her. The elders that were supposed to be teaching her, and one in particular that I grew such a deep internal hatred for, because this woman had no empathy or any kind of tolerance whatsoever. And that is what drove me to get more involved into my daughter's life, and especially when it came to school. After preschool was over and she graduated, and she was so proud of herself and she did really, really well. And I think about that day too, because that day was a hard day as well. I remember before we brought her to her ceremony, the teacher that she had approached me and actually said to me, well, I think Julia might have a hard time today because it's not what she's used to. In other words, that for children of Asperger's, they need to have a routine, and anything that falls away from that routine, they might react negatively. And yes, my daughter had her bad days as far as that was concerned, but she also had her good days, and she also had her days where she just adapted. And to say to me prior to her ceremony, she basically might have a meltdown or a breakdown because this isn't something she's used to, pissed me off. But anyway, yes, did she at some point pull up her dress during, while they were singing because she was laughing and she didn't know how else to react? Yeah, it happened. Was I mortified? No. I went over and I told her to stop, and I went on with it. And we finished the ceremony, and she was happy, and we all took pictures, and, my best friend was there. People that loved her was there. That's all that meant anything to me at that point. prior to me putting her into public school, especially kindergarten, I met with some really wonderful people. The head of my specific school system's special ed department, the head of the special education department. Her name was Jacqueline Smallwood, is Jacqueline Smallwood, and I worked with her from the beginning of my daughter's start in elementary school all the way up to where she is now in middle school. This woman by far has been my savior, has been a person who went to bat for me, has been a person who made sure Julia got everything that she was supposed to as far as support or help or anything she needed. And that is a very important thing to do, especially in a school system. You have to be involved. You have to find the one person that is going to go to bat for you, that is going to make sure your child gets all of the things that they are supposed to get to help them through their education, to support you, to support your family. It's so important. We did a lot of things. As I mentioned before, we did take it to a child psychologist. We did that for 2 years. Did it help? For me, I have my own stigma on psychology and the like and therapy and that type of a thing and the way it's handled and the way it's done. It might have helped supportively with her father and I. I think we did a lot more talking and stressing of our issues with everything. As far as Julia was concerned, it was playtime. It was play, it was playtime. It was sit there, maybe answer a question or two, but it was playtime for her. So I didn't really think there was too much that she got out of that. What was a great thing was through school. School, from the moment I put her into kindergarten up until she left in 5th grade, I can't say that I knew a better system than her school system. And my involvement with that became much more fluctuating and more involved and self-involved and encompassed my entire way of parenting. And I know there's questions about parenting and how do I handle it and things of that sort. And like I said, I want to get to specific topics before I go into the whole about how you parent and how you react to things, because of course you know that you just can't throw it out there for everybody, that it is strictly individual. So that's it, honestly, right now. I just wanted to give you guys a bit of a background on Asperger's in our family, how it happened to us, how, you know, from the point of her being diagnosed up until her being into school. And then, like I said, I'm going to be going from this book because I really do believe that educating yourself, not over-educating yourself, I mean by not reading every book and thinking that every symptom is your child, because I did that. I picked up every book and looked at it and went, oh my God, you know, not every child, not every case of Asperger's is the same. Everybody is different. I know my daughter is different, even though she might have similar symptoms. She might have done similar things. Over the years, some have dissipated. Over the years, we still are dealing with them. And right now, at 12 years old, she is one of the most polite, delightful young ladies you will ever meet. And she has her mom's snarkiness and sarcasm, and she has so much intelligence and so much wanting and needing to understand things around her. So I'm going to end it right here, and I will definitely be open to any types of questions you may have from this point on. I am going to be going, like I said, from this book and picking a specific topic the next time around so we can discuss that, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.